Chapter 1. On Black Friday, I spent $2.99 on an online marketplace like Temu for 5 promotional boxes of condoms. We were poor and had a mortgage to pay, so we had to live frugally. That day I also learned something else. The entire residential complex was developed by my wife. All the neighbors in our apartment building were my wife's subordinates in disguise. It turned out she wasn't a fishmonger at the local market. The pipes in our bathroom leaked that day. Worried about a complaint from the downstairs neighbor, I knocked on their door, but no one answered. So, I went to property management to get their contact information to discuss compensation. The new girl at the front desk looked at me like I was an alien. "Mr. Miller, are you kidding me? This entire complex was developed by your wife. Your building, in particular, all 66 apartments across its 33 floors, is her private property. Who would dare to complain about you? Honestly, even if you did more than just leak water, you could knock a hole in the ceiling and go bungee jumping if you wanted." I was stunned. I glanced at the calendar on my phone several times, confirming it was Black Friday, not April Fool's Day. My wife, Victoria Westwood, and I were just ordinary working-class people who met on a blind date. After getting married, the monthly mortgage of over $4,000 was enough to leave us breathless. We pinched pennies every single day. For us, a trip to the supermarket felt like a loss if we didn't buy something on sale. Annual sales events like Black Friday and Cyber Monday were far more important than Christmas or New Year's. After all, a holiday that makes you spend money is a heist, while one that helps you save is a true holiday. But now, someone was telling me my wife was a multi-millionaire, and I could just kick back and live the rest of my life as a landlord collecting rent. Not even a fantasy novel would dare to have a plot this wild. I walked out of the management office in a daze and, lost in thought, I went the wrong way. Instead of heading back to my building, I ended up at the back parking lot of the complex, a place I'd never been before. Just then, several luxury cars, the kind you only see in movies, pulled up. A Porsche, a Maserati, a Mercedes G-Wagon, and the woman who stepped out of the black Rolls-Royce Phantom, dressed head to toe in designer brands, was none other than my wife, Victoria Westwood, CEO, Westwood Your Car Key. A woman who looked like a secretary scurried over and handed a key to my wife. I had seen this woman a few times before, my neighbor from the 4th floor. Whenever we met in the elevator, she and my wife would stand face to face without any expression, each staring down at their phones. Turns out she could smile at Victoria with such fawning subservience. Thinking back to what the girl in the management office said, all 66 units in our building belonged to Victoria. I had reason to suspect that every neighbor I had ever met in the building was one of Victoria's employees in disguise. It was like a massive reality show. Victoria took off her expensive LV dress and a watch worth a fortune, tossing them carelessly to her secretary before hopping onto a green electric scooter parked in the corner. Now that was the vehicle I was familiar with. Victoria had told me she was a fishmonger at the local market. Sometimes she came home late, explaining she needed to take a long shower to wash off the fishy smell. I even joked that someone as beautiful as her must stand out like a crane among chickens at the market, calling her the beauty of the fish market. The women who got out of the Porsche and other luxury cars were also chic, stylish, and beautiful. Every one of them was a picture of wealth and class. "Victoria, heading home so early? Aren't you going to the spa tonight?" "Not tonight. My husband's waiting for me to come home for dinner." "Victoria, are you really not going to tell your husband your true net worth? This whole charade, hiding everything like you're Mr. and Mrs. Smith, is it really that interesting?" The owner of the Porsche asked with a laugh. "His evaluation period isn't over yet. I may be a multi-millionaire, but I can't have a husband who squanders money. That's why I have to train his spending habits and make sure he doesn't develop a taste for luxury, wastefulness, or laziness. Besides, I still need to see if he's a social climber who'll bleed me dry. What if all of his poor relatives start depending on me? That would be a raw deal for me. And those cheap in-laws of mine look mercenary and greedy. I have to be on guard. The Maserati owner gave her a thumbs up. Victoria, you've always got a plan. What if your husband doesn't meet your standards in the end? Then we get a divorce, of course, Victoria answered without a moment's hesitation. I won't give him a single penny of my assets he doesn't know the truth about. Me anyway. So I can just make up some excuse to get him to sign the papers. He might even have to pay me alimony. My heart went cold in an instant. Tears streamed down my face against my will. So my marriage wasn't about love. It was just a test set by my wife. I thought that even though our life wasn't rich, we could support each other through thick and thin, work together, and build a future. It was all in my head. For this woman, it wasn't a question of whether she loved me or not. It was a lack of the most basic respect. She was hypocritical, cruel, and arrogant. My heart already felt like it was being sliced by a knife, but someone decided that wasn't enough. They had to grind it into dust. The woman from the G-Wagon laughed. Victoria, the truth is, you've never gotten over Ethan Preston, have you? You can't trust any man in the world because he dumped you when your family's business failed and ran off to another country to marry some rich foreign woman. I laughed bitterly at myself. So she already had the one that got away, and I was just the consolation prize. Chapter 2. A man doesn't cry easily, but only because the pain hasn't struck deep enough. I bit down hard on my wrist to keep from sobbing out loud. Half an hour later, I walked through the door of our apartment. It was a simply furnished 3-bedroom place. No crown molding, no tile floors, no wallpaper. Because, as Victoria had said, we didn't have the extra money for renovations. Victoria was on the sofa, balancing the budget. This was a rule she had established. Every day, we had to record all our expenses, down to the last 2 decimal places. Where have you been? Did you manage to get the Durex condoms I asked you to buy? Victoria looked up and asked. The night before, after we had been intimate, we discussed what to grab during the Black Friday sales. Besides toilet paper, laundry detergent, underwear, and socks, Victoria said we needed to stock up on contraceptives. We had only been married for half a year, and we went through them quickly. She also said that life was too stressful right now to have kids. So I had genuinely spent $2.99 on Temu for 5 promotional boxes of Durex. When I made the payment, I was happy. My wife was crazy about my body, and I thought it was love. Now, I just wanted to slap myself. This woman wouldn't even let you use expensive condoms. How could she have any genuine feelings for you? She was obsessed with your body because you were just a toy to her. I forgot to order them. I'll just buy some from the pharmacy. It won't be that much more expensive. In fact, I didn't buy any of it, the toilet paper, the detergent. It's too exhausting to rack my brain over such petty savings. I walked into the room without changing my shoes. I'm not cooking tonight. Let's eat out. I heard there's a new steakhouse at the mall downtown that's pretty good. It's only about $250 a person. Clack. Victoria threw her pen down on the coffee table with a bit of force. Sincere, what's wrong with you? Who are you trying to spite? I've been working hard all day, slinging fish at the market, and it's exhausting. Do I have to come home to your bad mood too? I already told you, we have to live frugally, otherwise who's going to pay the mortgage, the HOA fees, and the utilities every month? The internet bill alone is over 80% a month. That's what I make in a whole day. Why are you being so thoughtless? Don't worry, this one's on me. It's our farewell dinner after all. Sincere, what kind of tantrum are you throwing? Victoria frowned, about to lecture me again, but I had had enough. Before I walked in, I had planned to do this peacefully without a fight. The deepest sorrow is a dead heart. When a couple fights, it means they still have expectations of each other. I was completely disillusioned with Victoria, but hearing her impatient tone and seeing her furrowed brow, I couldn't stop my emotions from erupting. Victoria, stop with the PUA games. Stop telling me how to live my life. I've had it. You have no right to tell me what to do. Fine. We don't need a farewell dinner. Let's just split the assets. You love balancing budgets, don't you? Let's get a divorce. The tears I had been holding back burst forth. I held up my phone, showing her the picture I had secretly taken of her, leaning against the Rolls-Royce, smiling as she removed her makeup. Great actress Westwood, the show is over. After a moment of shock, Victoria's expression returned to calm. She didn't offer an explanation, not that I needed one. She showed no sign of guilt. Instead, she shrugged helplessly. I guess I was too careless. Fine, let's move on to the next phase. She opened a drawer and pulled out another document. Since you've gone off script, this phase of your evaluation has to end early. This is the prenuptial agreement my lawyer drafted. Just sign it. It states that if we divorce in the future, you won't have any right to my family's assets. But as a humanitarian gesture, I can give you a certain amount of severance pay. The amount will be calculated by multiplying the actual years of our marriage by 5. For example, if we divorce after 5 years, I'll give you 25 years of severance, with the annual amount based on the average per capita income for urban residents published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. What a meticulous woman I used to find her, penny pinching, ways charming, thinking it showed her sense of responsibility towards our family. Now it just made me sick. Victoria, I want to divorce you, sincere. Don't play these pointless push and pull games. Victoria looked at me as if she could see right through me. I know you'll be unhappy for a while because I deceived you, but when you think about my real wealth, you'll be nothing but happy and relieved, right? Don't all you men dream of marrying a rich, beautiful woman and reaching the pinnacle of your life? Congratulations, your dream has come true. I saw undisguised narcissism and unabashed contempt on Victoria's face. In her heart, we were from two different worlds. Marrying me was an act of charity on her part. She played with my feelings, and I was expected to be grateful and thank Her Highness for the opportunity, because the line of men waiting for her to play with them was probably a long one. Victoria, when I thought you were poor, I truly loved you. I ripped the marriage agreement to shreds and threw the pieces in her face. But right now, you're just vile. I don't love you anymore. Get out. Victoria's face, once quite pretty, was now twisted with shame and anger. She was about to say something else when her phone rang. What is it? Victoria, Ethan Preston is back from overseas. He divorced the rich foreign woman and is at a bar, drinking himself into a stupor. He was crying and saying he wants to get back together with you. At the mention of her old flame's name, Victoria shot up and rushed to the door. Just as she was about to leave, she stopped. Sincere, I'll give you one more chance. Do you really want to divorce me? If you beg me now, maybe I won't go find Ethan. Chapter 3. Of course I didn't ask her to stay. I didn't want to, and I couldn't have stopped her anyway. A woman whose heart has strayed is like a dog off its leash. Victoria didn't come home that night. The next day, I texted her the divorce agreement I had drafted. We had only been married for 6 months and didn't have many valuable assets. When we got married, I made the down payment on the house, paid a $7,500 dowry, and bought the traditional gold jewelry. She had said she wouldn't bring a penny of the dowry into the marriage, but insisted her name be added to the deed of the house. I figured since we were family, there was no need to be calculating, and a woman needs a sense of security, so I added her name. My parents were very unhappy about it. After the wedding, I was responsible for $3,000 of the $4,500 monthly mortgage, while Victoria, with her lower income, paid just $1,500. I also covered the groceries, cooking, and utilities. In the divorce agreement, I wrote that I wouldn't ask for the dowry back, and she could keep the mortgage payments she'd made. But the house was mine. She would move out, and she could take all the appliances and jewelry. A clean break. I knew she didn't care about any of this, but it was a matter of principle for me. I didn't want to take a single cent from her, and I didn't want to be taken advantage of again. Sincere, are you stupid? Even if you're getting a divorce, you can't just ask for this take half her assets. And what about all the time she slept with you this past half year? Doesn't she have to pay for that? Gigolos are expensive these days. My buddy Brian, who knew the whole story, was exasperated with me. I shook my head and ignored his advice. As for her sleeping with me all those times, I could only consider it bad luck. I couldn't ask for money. It was like being bitten by a dog, because I'm not for sale. Victoria's reply came slowly. She was probably busy with her one that got away, Ethan. Sincere, you'll regret this. If you divorce me, you'll never have another chance to marry into wealth. You'll never meet another woman of my caliber. You will pay for your ridiculous pride with a lifetime of regret. City Hall, 9 in the morning tomorrow. After sending that, I blocked her number. The next day I had just returned a bike-share bike at the City Hall entrance when Victoria arrived. She had a new car, a blue Lamborghini supercar. She wasn't alone. A handsome man in an Armani suit sat in the passenger seat. At first glance, his features were somewhat similar to mine, but much more refined. It dawned on me. I had just been someone's stand-in all along. Don't get the wrong idea. I'm actually here to convince you two not to divorce, Ethan said with a look of sincerity. Marriage isn't easy, and this is all my fault. It was me who, blinded by greed, abandoned Victoria when her family's business failed. I'm the one who hurt her. His eyes reddened. I regretted it almost immediately, realizing I had lost such an amazing woman. I truly hope you don't make the same mistake I did. She only deceived you as a test. She meant no harm. I didn't come back to break up your family. A man's greatest achievement in life is finding a good woman, right? Victoria is such a catch. You shouldn't give up on her. What she did is understandable. It's all because I broke her heart back then. She's so devoted to me that she built walls around herself, making it hard to let another man in. Ethan suddenly grew agitated, grabbing my hand and trying to make me slap his face with it. Take out all your anger on me. It's all my fault. Hit me. I knew Ethan was acting. It was a sanctimonious, self-righteous performance. He was trying to disgust me while putting on a show for Victoria. He had wronged Victoria in the past, and she surely held a grudge. Instead of waiting for her to confront him, he was taking the initiative to criticize himself. This self-flagellation was his way of placating her. So it wasn't just manipulative women. Two-faced men existed too. He thought I wouldn't hit him, but I went along with his hand, adding more force. Slap! A loud smack landed squarely on Ethan's face. 5 clear fingerprints instantly appeared on his handsome scumbag face. You... Ethan stared blankly, completely bewildered. I only drink fruit juice, not green tea, I said, shaking my slightly sore hand. I'm not interested in your past drama, and I don't care about your future romance. But right now, we are not divorced. She is still legally my wife. Who are you to come here and grandstand? You deserved that because you're pathetic. Besides, you asked for it. If I didn't hit you, I'd be letting you down, and I'd be letting myself down. Tears welled in Ethan's eyes, but he didn't lash out. Instead, he put on a look of understanding. Fine, I know you're angry. Hit me if it makes you feel better. This is what Victoria owes you, and I'll take the punishment for her. He leaned his face in, looking like a martyr ready for sacrifice. I didn't hesitate and raised my hand again. Enough. Sincere, how far are you going to take this? Victoria grabbed my wrist. I know you don't want to let me go, but making a scene like this will only push me further away. Are you done with this divorce melodrama? Why are you so insecure? Do you really think I'm going to dump you? The more aggressive you act, the more it proves how fragile you are inside. She pointed a finger at the doors of City Hall. Do you really dare to walk through those doors? You're just putting on a brave face. Ethan also watched me nervously. He wasn't just here today to get under my skin. He was worried I wouldn't actually go through with the divorce. I wasted no more words and led the way up the steps to City Hall. Whoever doesn't sign today is a dog. Chapter 4. An hour later, Victoria and I walked out of City Hall. At least Ethan had the sense not to follow us inside and make a fool of himself. That 1 hour of waiting had been torture for him. His face was a mask of anxiety. "Is it done?" Ethan rushed up to ask. Victoria shook her head. A look of immense disappointment washed over Ethan's face. He dropped the act and finally exploded at me. "Sincere showing your true colors, are you? I knew you didn't have the guts to leave Victoria, she's so rich. A pauper like you must have. Had ancestors smiling on you to marry her, you'd be willing to walk away from that? Don't give me that crap about her deceiving you, even if she beat you every day, even if she cheated on you daily and whipped you, you wouldn't leave. Who was that act of being above it all for? You're disgusting, let me tell you. Don't think a marriage certificate can tie Victoria down. You may have her body, but you'll never have her heart. She doesn't love you at all. You're just my replacement." Ethan's face was contorted with hysteria. I couldn't be bothered with him. I took out my phone to unlock a bike-share bike by the roadside. Ethan wouldn't give up, grabbing the handlebars. "How much money will it take for you to leave her? Name your price." Victoria could no longer remain silent. "Ethan, that's enough." Ethan looked wounded. "Victoria, don't tell me you can't bear to part with him. Then what about me? I came back to this country for you. Are you going to betray me? You've been abroad for too long. Don't you know there's a cooling-off period for divorces now?" Ethan's face froze. He looked completely constipated. He stammered for a while before finally squeezing out, "Well, I just thought since your relationship has broken down, it would be best to part amicably. I was just worried." The divorce cooling-off period meant that after a couple voluntarily applies for divorce, there's a 30-day window during which either party can withdraw the application. Over the next month, I moved out of our old apartment and rented a place near my office. I also planned to sell the house. I had no desire to live on my wife's property any longer. I still hadn't figured out how to tell my parents about the divorce. To be fair, while Victoria had told many lies and done many disgusting things, she was right about one thing. My parents were indeed rather mercenary, and they played favorites. Many parents in rural areas favor their youngest son. My family was no exception. My parents cared most about my younger brother. They always said that as the older brother, I was responsible for my brother's future marriage, car, and house. When Victoria and I got married, they were very unhappy about the house situation. They said I had forgotten my family after getting a wife. They called me unfilial for agreeing to add her name to the deed, even though I had earned the down payment myself. So I was certain that once they found out I was divorcing Victoria, they wouldn't sympathize with me. They would only mock me and call me a fool. After I started living alone, I always had the feeling that someone was following me. On the 17th day of the cooling-off period, my suspicion was confirmed. It was Brian's birthday. It was just the two of us, and we drank a lot. We were both drunk. Brian couldn't drive, so he called his younger sister Jane to come give me a ride home. No, not home. To my rental. A divorced man has no home. I had known Jane for a long time. She was an art student and was very beautiful. Since middle school, her brother and I had gotten into more than a few fights for her, fending off troublemakers. She had recently graduated from film school and said she wanted to break into the entertainment industry and become a star. I sighed when I heard that. Becoming a star isn't that easy. When we got to my apartment building, Jane looked at my flushed, drunken face. "Sincere, can you get upstairs by yourself?" Yes, no problem." I stumbled out of the car, trying to act tough, but a gust of night wind hit me. I retched and threw up. I was always a lightweight, and drinking on a heavy heart, it was a miracle I wasn't more drunk. "I'd better help you up." Jane got out of her Mini and came over to support me. My body went limp, and I fell right into her arms. Just then, Victoria's cold voice cut through the air. "Sincere, you're not even divorced yet, and you're already this eager to find your rebound." Chapter 5. I looked up to see Victoria and Ethan standing before me like a perfect couple. This time, Victoria was driving a Porsche Cayenne. Ethan looked at me with disappointment. "Sincere, Is it appropriate for a man and a woman who are not related to be embracing like this? Have you two been having an affair all along? Hiding it from Victoria? This young lady is Jane, isn't she? Your best friend's sister. I bet you knew Victoria's real identity all along and were just playing dumb as part of your own scheme, right? Ethan was a master of mind games. He never missed an opportunity to stir up trouble. Their timely appearance confirmed my suspicion that I was being followed. It was Ethan's doing. Victoria's face was ashen. Sincere, I need an explanation. A man can be playful, but he can't make mistakes, and he certainly can't be unfaithful and flirt with other women. Before I could say anything, Ethan jumped in, eager to sling more mud at me. Victoria, I think this man has been acting the whole time. He claims you deceived him, but in reality he was the one deceived. Whoa. Ethan was about to continue his tirade when a police car suddenly pulled up beside them. Two officers got out. Mr. Preston, you are a suspect in a financial fraud case. Please come with us for questioning. Victoria froze. A week later, I ran into Victoria again downstairs from my office building. Her eyes were bloodshot. She wasn't showing off any of her luxury cars, and she seemed depressed. There are still 10 days left in the cooling-off period. Don't worry, I won't delay the big event of your remarriage. My words were intentionally sarcastic. As expected, her expression soured. Ethan was in trouble. He and Victoria were college classmates and had dated back then. Victoria's family was in real estate, making her a wealthy heiress and an only child. After graduation, she took over the family business, but due to her inexperience, she was swindled by a partner on a major project. The scandal nearly bankrupted her family. Scrambling to cover the losses, Victoria was desperate, borrowing money from everywhere. The grand wedding she had planned with Ethan was put on hold. That was when Ethan broke up with her, got together with a rich foreign woman he met at the gym, and left the country. This deeply wounded Victoria's pride and filled her with a profound hatred for materialistic men. That was why she had pretended to be poor when she married me, manipulating me in every way. Recently, Ethan had returned, approaching Victoria with all sorts of apologies and flattery. It gave Victoria a sense of vindication. She often brought him to social gatherings to see old friends. She was essentially showing off to everyone. See? He regrets it. My life isn't a failure. I have no blemishes. I'm still the best. Unfortunately, she had fallen for Ethan's trap again. While Ethan was fickle with Victoria, he was deeply devoted to the foreign woman. His foreign lover's business abroad had recently run into serious trouble, so Ethan volunteered to return to his home country, deliberately got close to Victoria, and lied about being divorced. He claimed he had business, resources, and connections overseas, and wanted to partner on a project. In reality, it was all a scam to get Victoria's money to bail out his foreign girlfriend. The projects he proposed were based on fake data. He didn't just swindle Victoria, he scammed several old classmates as well. He never loved Victoria, he just saw her as a cash cow to be exploited. Essentially, it was a romance scam. His aggressive behavior toward me, his attempts to sow discord, and his jealous outbursts were all part of an act to portray himself as an ex who was envious of her new partner. It was all a performance to make Victoria believe he was still obsessed with her. The one thing he didn't count on was the police catching on to his scam. His show finally came to a disastrous end. Victoria was furious and humiliated. She and Ethan had a complete falling out, and he ended up in jail. Ethan is a huge swindler, and I'm a victim too. Can we not get a divorce? Victoria grabbed my hand. Sincere, I realize now that you're the best. All those other men are too calculating. Too complicated. As she spoke, she pulled out a red property deed. I've already transferred the house into your name. If you think the old marriage agreement wasn't fair, we can renegotiate the terms. I've seen so many men, and you're the only one who is pure. Let's get back together. I took the red property deed from her and smiled. How many people toil day in and day out like ants, enduring bullying bosses, backstabbing colleagues, and crowded subways, all for a piece of paper like this? Just like during the 6 months of my marriage to Victoria, I mistakenly believed we had a mortgage. I scrimped and saved, slaving away for the bank, all while waiting to pay it off. Back then, how I wished I could own the house outright. Still smiling, I tore the deed to pieces and threw it in her face. Victoria, I'm not for sale, we're divorced. Don't come looking for me again. You only pretended to be poor before. I hope you don't start acting pathetic now. For the first time, I saw panic in Victoria's eyes. Sincere, I admit I was wrong before, but can't you forgive me this one time? Lots of couples fight, they talk about divorce, but they don't actually go through with it. This is different. I pulled my arm away from her grasp. A couple can have conflicts, but they can't have deception. They can't lose the most fundamental trust now. The sight of your face makes me sick. I don't believe a single word you say, not even a punctuation mark. There's no way we can live like this anymore. But have you thought about the consequences of divorce? You'll lose a lot of wealth and become a divorced man. You'll never find a woman better than me, Victoria insisted. But at least I can find a woman who is more honest than you. That was a critical hit. Victoria's lip trembled. And you're not as smart as you think you are. To be fooled by the same man twice. Your intelligence doesn't match your acting skills. Victoria's face turned green. Chapter 6. Victoria haunted me relentlessly. After the cooling-off period ended, she refused to sign the final papers. I could guess what was going through her mind. Before, when she was deceiving me with her Poverty Act, she was the director, the lead actress, and the screenwriter. She was in complete control of the entire production. Then Ethan appeared, her show ended prematurely, and she discovered she had been played by him. And I, the man she had treated like a fool, was now completely out of her control. She felt a profound sense of failure. Did she truly regret it? Did she really still have feelings for me? I didn't believe it. At her core, she was a selfish and cold-hearted person. You can't use your past wounds as an excuse to hurt others. A truly kind person, having been caught in the rain themselves, will hold an umbrella for others in the future. Only a selfish person, having been bitten by a dog, turns into a wolf. Victoria simply couldn't accept her failure. So, the more she acted like she couldn't forget me, the more disgusted I was with her character. Because I consistently ignored her, she invested in the company I worked for and had me promoted to be her personal secretary. I resigned in protest. After I found a new job, she did the same thing. Sincere, just accept it. You can't escape your fate of being kept by me. I resigned again, already planning to set up a stall at the night market. No matter how powerful Victoria was, she probably wouldn't become a security guard just to follow me there, right? Come work for me. I happen to need a trustworthy manager. You studied administration and know finance, right? You're perfect. I don't want any trouble with taxes, even though I'm not famous yet. Jane Shaw extended an invitation to me. I accepted, because I didn't want this pure-hearted girl to be corrupted by the entertainment industry. I wanted to protect her. After I took over, I helped her pick 2 roles and both became hits. She also landed her first endorsement deal. Jane was thrilled and always told me, "Sincere, you got divorced too late. If you had come to help me sooner, my career would have taken off long ago." She really had a way with words. Are you really with this influencer? Victoria, like a dog blocking the road, stood in front of Jane and me again. I've already filed for divorce in court. My private life is none of your business. Are you trying to provoke me on purpose? Divorcing me to be with this low-class trash? Victoria looked at Jane with eyes full of contempt. Women in the entertainment industry are all sluts. You're not even worthy of polishing my shoes. And you certainly don't have the right to wear my sloppy seconds. I trembled with rage. Victoria wasn't just insulting Jane, she was insulting me. It seemed my decision to insist on a divorce was the right one. Deep down, she had never respected me. Before I could say anything, Jane, who was usually quiet, spoke up. Miss Westwood, right? To be honest, Before you started acting so aggressive, there was nothing going on between Sincere and me, even though we've known each other for a long time. But because you're attacking people like a rabid dog, I've discovered many of Sincere's good qualities. The fact that he won't sell his soul for money and won't tolerate a rotten person like you for material gain, that alone makes him a man worth loving. Jane turned to me. I'm still single. Why don't we give it a try? I can't promise you anything else, but I can promise that even if I become an international award-winning actress, I will never betray you. Okay, I nodded without hesitation. I was grateful to Jane for playing along to get rid of Victoria. As expected, Victoria stormed off in a huff. Thank you for acting with me. I thanked her sincerely. Jane looked at me. Sincere? Who said I was acting? I wasn't acting. I really think you're a good match for me. Jane wasn't kidding. She actually started pursuing me, a woman chasing a man. When Brian found out, he was ecstatic, practically jumping for joy. He even secretly told me that his sister might have had a crush on me for a long time. He said that on his birthday, when we all got drunk, she wasn't planning on coming. She only showed up because she knew I would be there. As Jane and I spent more time together, we developed a genuine, supportive bond. Victoria, however, was still relentlessly obsessed. When she saw I wouldn't take her back, she went to my parents. She offered them a considerable sum of money to persuade me. My parents, blinded by greed, heard that Victoria was a true heiress and completely ignored her deception towards me. They used every tactic, pleading, threatening, bribing, to get me to drop the divorce lawsuit. They even said that marrying such a wealthy woman was a blessing from our ancestors. My brother's future wedding wouldn't just be a house, it would be a mansion, so she lied to you? Big deal. Even if she had 10 men on the side, you shouldn't divorce her, my mother nagged, twisting my ear. That's right, I forbid you from seeing that Jane girl anymore, an actress. Our family's future depends on you, my father fumed, his mustache twitching. Thankfully, my younger brother was sensible. Bro, your happiness is what matters most, don't be a social climber. And I won't be a leech, my mind was made up. I ignored my parents and saw the divorce through the court system. A court-ordered divorce has no cooling-off period. The red marriage certificate was finally replaced with a green divorce certificate. Green. What a wonderful color. Full of life, full of promise. My life seemed to be getting better and better. My parents were so angry they threatened to disown me. But it was just talk. Jane's career was taking off. She landed her first leading role in a movie, but someone was trying to sabotage her. Unless you leave Sincere Miller, you'll never make it in this industry, I'll turn all your hard work into nothing, Victoria threatened her with a cold, sinister tone. Jealousy had twisted her features. With her power and influence, it was easy to target a fledgling actress. Jane, I didn't want to drag Jane down because of my problems, but she squeezed my hand. It was the first time she had initiated physical contact. Sincere, didn't you once think about setting up a stall at the night market? Why don't we open a small family business? You can sell spicy hot pot, and I'll sell roasted sweet potatoes. Don't worry, we won't starve. Tears welled up in my eyes. Okay, we can sell rice cakes too. I nodded, crying. Victoria left in a huff, and in her haste she crashed her Mercedes into a light pole. Unfortunately, she was fine. Jane and I were genuinely preparing for a career change. But then, a turning point came. Jane won an award for a supporting role in a previous film. She won Best Newcomer. Now Victoria could no longer suppress her career. And Jane kept her promise at the awards ceremony. She proposed to me. At the same time, the Westwood family's real estate business imploded. After struggling for a few years, Westwood Realty declared bankruptcy due to insolvency. Victoria no longer had to pretend to be poor. She was now a deadbeat. We all have bright futures ahead of us. The end. Chapter 1. It was common knowledge in our circles that at the city's most prestigious auction, Victoria Langdon had placed the winning bid on a ruby jewelry set for a record-breaking price. No one was surprised. After all, everyone knew my passion for jewelry, and I had indeed been eyeing that set for a very long time. And yet, at the annual company gala, it was her secretary who was wearing it. I have zero tolerance for betrayal. In that moment, I finally understood. The bond we shared since childhood and our 5-year marriage, it was time for it all to end. I have wealth, looks, and ability. I can have any woman I want. A woman with a wandering eye? I no longer want her. Victoria was late to the gala. I was making small talk with the shareholders, the atmosphere cordial and relaxed. Only after the party was in full swing did Victoria finally make her grand entrance, arm in arm with her secretary Caleb Conway. The moment the doors swung open, every head in the room turned. I had been casually sipping my drink, but hearing the sharp intakes of breath around me, I lifted my head in curiosity. One glance, and I froze. Standing beside Victoria was her secretary, dressed in a bespoke suit, with her arm linked through his. Most conspicuously, pinned to Caleb's pocket and on his hand were the brooch and ring from that very ruby set. I watched with my own eyes as Victoria meticulously adjusted the brooch's position, her hand resting on Caleb's chest while his arms circled her waist. Their posture was intimate, far beyond the bounds of a professional relationship. So, this was why she was late. She had been taking her precious secretary shopping for high-end custom suits. I finally felt the sound of my own heart shattering. The faith I had held onto for so long had finally crumbled. Everyone knew Victoria had once again spent a fortune at the auction. I had even had my stylist create a look for me that would perfectly complement that ruby set. Yet, as the gala was about to begin, she never showed up to give me the jewelry. I had called Victoria, asking if she had a gift for me. She brushed me off with a few perfunctory words about being busy with work, but I caught the sound of a hushed male voice in the background. "Miss Langdon, will Mr. Sharp be unhappy if he finds out?" "It's fine. Don't worry about him. He has enough jewelry to open an exhibition." For Victoria to do this was a slap in the face in front of everyone. This woman was no longer the pure, innocent girl I once knew. Caleb followed Victoria obediently, offering me a polite smile. There was something unnervingly familiar about his eyes. "Good evening, Mr. Sharp." My gaze involuntarily turned cold, my eyes scanning him with scrutiny. "That's a nice set of jewelry you have on. It looks almost identical to the one I had my eye on." We were all intelligent people. Words didn't need to be spelled out. How could a fresh-faced university student from a modest background possibly afford such a luxury item? Caleb grew flustered under my stare, glancing repeatedly at Victoria, seeking her protection right in front of me. Victoria's face was a mask of calm, as if nothing was amiss. "Sincere, don't misunderstand. Young Caleb mentioned he'd never been to such a grand gala and didn't have any proper formal wear or accessories. It was just a coincidence, wasn't it? I saw how hard-working and motivated he is, so I just grabbed a set for him." I raised an eyebrow and nodded, giving a subtle signal to my male assistant nearby. The next second, a line of sales associates entered the hall, each holding a gift box, marching in a grand procession. Victoria looked at me, confused. I crossed my arms, leaning back in my very important person seat. Time to pay up. There are so many secretaries here, all of them young people working hard to make their way. Miss Langdon is so kind-hearted, surely she wouldn't play favorites with just her own secretary, would she? Caleb knew I was deliberately cornering them. The color drained from his face. "Mr. Sharp, please don't make things difficult for Miss Langdon. This is all my fault. I'll return these immediately." The way he said it, anyone who didn't know better would think I was the one causing trouble for no reason. Ha! You give yourself far too much credit. It's just a few pieces of jewelry. It's not like Victoria Langdon can't afford it. Miss Langdon is used to a life of privilege and may not understand the implications of giving a man clothes and a ring. But you, as her secretary, you don't know either. Caleb grew even more panicked, bowing his head and apologizing profusely. Victoria was, of course, an exceptional woman, with countless men falling for her. But all those who tried to get close were deterred by her cold indifference. I was Victoria's exception. I thought I would be her only exception. I just never imagined that after only a few years of marriage, her heart would already be straying. Victoria sighed, took a black card from her clutch, and handed it to the lead sales associate. She walked over to me, wrapped her arms around my waist, and leaned against my chest, looking at me with deep affection. "It's just a set of jewelry. I had no idea you'd care so much. Don't work yourself up over it." She said it as if it were a trivial matter. A cold smirk touched my lips. I raised a hand to her bare neck, applying a bit of pressure to pull her closer. "Caleb has a thing for you. Don't pretend you can't tell. I know you don't care about the money, but what happened today? I hope this is the first and last time. If there is a next time." The surrounding employees started cheering and whistling, thinking we were flirting. A faint blush colored Victoria's cheeks. She frowned uncomfortably. "Sincere, not here. It's not a good look in front of the staff. Young Caleb and I just have a professional relationship. Don't overthink it." I snorted softly and released her. It wouldn't be difficult to publicly humiliate her, but I would lose my own dignity in the process. Getting into a jealous spat over a young boy was beneath me. Since I had vented my anger, I decided to let them off the hook for the time being. After all, I had no concrete proof of an affair between them. I took Victoria's hand, preparing to go on stage to give my speech. Meanwhile, the secretaries who had received the jewelry were flaunting it in front of Caleb. "We have you to thank for this, Assistant Conway. What a treat to Miss Langdon. Giving these away is probably like giving candy to a child. Surely no one would be foolish enough to get any improper ideas about her, right?" I was wondering why Miss Langdon made such an exception for him. Turns out he's just a cheap imitation of the real thing. Each taunt and warning was like a sharp blade slicing through Caleb's heart. He had never been so humiliated. His eyes turned red. He fled the scene. After my speech, I was ready to leave. I'd had a few drinks, so Victoria was driving. As I got into the car, I noticed that my passenger seat had been adjusted. The car was filled with plush toys, and the sun visor was covered with anime and video game stickers. No one but me would dare let Victoria be their chauffeur, and certainly no one else would dare alter her car settings. It could only have been Caleb. I always felt that arguing with a kid like him was beneath me, the esteemed, sincere Sharp. But in that moment, I was about to lose my mind with rage. Even when I learned that Victoria had given the jewelry I'd long wanted to Caleb, I wasn't this angry. Ultimately, it was just an object, something I could easily obtain if I wanted. But for that kid Caleb to leave his mark in a space that was exclusively mine, he was trying to slowly and subtly usurp my place by Victoria's side. This was a provocation. In 5 years of marriage, I had never felt such intense anger. I wanted to slap Victoria across the face, and as for that Caleb, he deserved a full-blown beatdown. My face was a thundercloud. Just as I was about to erupt, Victoria's phone rang. Completely oblivious to my dark expression, she calmly answered Caleb's call. I fiddled with the seat controls in frustration, only hearing her say, "Okay, don't worry, I'll be right there." Victoria turned to me. "Young Caleb needs to return that jewelry set, but he doesn't have the receipt. I have to go handle it. Sincere, I'll call the driver to take you home, okay?" I stared at her in disbelief. "For something so trivial, you're going to abandon your drunk husband on the side of the road? Sincere, please don't make this difficult for me. Young Caleb is very proud. After what you did, he's really upset." I laughed, a humorless, angry sound. "Is he proud, or is he deliberately provoking me in front of you? How old is he that he can't come get it himself?" Victoria sighed, exasperated. When she opened her eyes again, her gaze was cold. "Sincere, why must you torment a newcomer like this? When did you become so aggressive? You weren't like this before." The fire that had been raging inside me was instantly extinguished, replaced by a profound sense of weariness and disappointment. It was laughable. I'm aggressive? Victoria, you have never defended another man in public before. This is a first. You've never given a man a gift like this, and you've certainly never abandoned me for someone else. When we got married, we promised, for the reputation of the Sharp and Langdon families, that neither of us would engage in any messy affairs. Are you really going to break that promise for that damned man? Victoria froze. She was silent for a long time before finally dialing the family driver. Then she unbuckled my seatbelt. Sincere, you're always so sharp and forceful. We're husband and wife, not just business partners. Don't treat me with your boardroom tactics. It's suffocating. I'm going to stay at my family's home tonight. We both need to cool down. So that was it. That explained her sudden, erratic behavior. She was so desperate to find comfort and pleasure from another man. But before, she used to say that my personality was what she admired most. She always knew what kind of person I was. How could her attitude change so drastically after only 5 years? It was simple. She was bored and looking for an excuse. Why create so many sanctimonious justifications and sling mud at me in the process? I slammed the car door shut and watched as Victoria eagerly slammed her foot on the gas. I, Sincere Sharp, do not tolerate betrayal. Once a relationship and a marriage are tainted by filth, it's time for me to discard them. I had given Victoria a chance. She was the one who failed to cherish it. I called my best friend. Henry, I need you to draw up a set of divorce papers for me. For families like ours, no one files for divorce unless it's the absolute last resort. The Langdon and Sharp elders were friends for generations. Victoria and I were childhood sweethearts. After our marriage, we cross-held shares in each other's companies. The Langdon Corporation and Sharp Corporation were already deeply integrated. Dividing the assets after a divorce would be an incredibly thorny affair. When I got home, my head was spinning. I washed up and prepared to get some rest. My phone buzzed with a goodnight text from Victoria, complete with a cute kissing emoji. I didn't reply. The next morning, I was nearly knocked over by a girl outside my office building. My watch was sent clattering to the ground. The coffee in her hand spilled all over my overcoat. The 2 security guards at the entrance saw what happened and rushed over. They started scolding the girl for not watching where she was going. The girl was terrified. She fumbled to pick up my watch and hand it back to me, then tried to wipe the stain on my coat with her sleeve. When she saw the stain wouldn't come out, she fell to her knees in panic, begging for my forgiveness. It was the middle of winter, and she was only wearing a thin jacket and sunglasses, which didn't fully conceal the bruises under her eyes. Just then, Victoria, arriving for work at the same time, saw the entire scene. The Langdon Corporation and Sharp Corporation headquarters were just across the street from each other. She stood on the opposite side, watching silently, her face grim and serious. For the first time, I saw disgust in her eyes. From her perspective, my proud posture must have looked like I was bullying the weak. I took 2 steps back, held up a hand to stop the approaching guards, and took the girl's arm to help her up from the ground. I don't know what difficulties you're facing, but no matter what a person loses, they must never lose their self-respect. The girl apologized and thanked me profusely before hurrying away. I didn't notice that after I left, she reappeared from around the corner, staring intently at my back. After I finished up some work, I suddenly remembered the look in Victoria's eyes that morning. That look of disgust still felt like a needle in my chest. Our lunches were always prepared by the Langdon family chef and delivered to my office. To assert her status as Mrs. Sharp and to keep the female colleagues in my company at a distance, she always came over to eat with me. Today, lunchtime came and went, and she didn't appear. I wasn't planning on waiting for her. Just as I was about to eat, she showed up, with Caleb in tow. Caleb's eyes were red-rimmed, his head perpetually bowed, making him look both respectful and pitiful. I paused for a moment, then looked at them without expression. Victoria sat down beside me and let out a long sigh. Because of what happened yesterday, young Caleb is being ostracized. I continued opening my lunch container. As the CEO's assistant, he can't even handle a small thing like that. I was hoping you could manage your people and tell them to stop making things difficult for a new employee. Due to our business collaborations, we each had our own staff members working in the other's company. Victoria was implying that my people were acting on my behalf, deliberately giving Caleb a hard time. Last night's gala was a joint event for both corporations. Nearly all employees were present. It was inevitable that Caleb's behavior would be criticized. I slammed my cup down on the table with a loud crack. First of all, I have not ordered anyone to target your little secretary. He's not worthy of my attention. Secondly, if anyone is to blame for what he's experiencing today, it's his own lack of propriety and his failure to understand boundaries. Victoria, have you lived this long without understanding the most basic principles of management? Your special treatment of him will only create more enemies for him. What does that have to do with me? Caleb, who had been silent, suddenly took 2 steps forward and spoke urgently. It has nothing to do with Miss Langdon. Mr. Sharp, what happened last night was my fault. I was inconsiderate and offended you. It's all on me. I was momentarily stunned, then let out a soft laugh. Victoria, this assistant of yours is truly something else. Clueless for one, but he sure loves to jump out and make a scene whenever it concerns you. Of course, I didn't accept Caleb's out-of-the-blue apology. Caleb bit his lip, and tears of grievance welled up in his eyes as he struggled to suppress a sob. The next second, the bowl in front of me was smashed on the floor. I looked up in disbelief. Victoria's face was dark, as if I had committed some unforgivable sin. Apologized to young Caleb, I laughed, then grabbed the coffee cup from the table and flung its contents at her face. Brown liquid splashed all over her. Victoria, I think you've lost your mind. How dare you throw a tantrum at me that day? Victoria and I parted on terrible terms. That very day she took Caleb and left on a business trip. That evening I was out with my friends, and Henry said it was because I was too sharp, too clever. He theorized it had triggered Victoria's protective instincts and partiality toward Caleb. How ridiculous. I've never lacked for admirers. I could remain steadfast in my principles for decades. Why couldn't she? In the end, it was just boredom. The love was gone. A tainted relationship, a polluted marriage. I had no need for it. I took a special look at that little secretary, Henry said. At first glance, isn't that thing just a substitute for you? I really don't get what Victoria is thinking. She has the genuine article right here but doesn't cherish it, choosing to dote on a knockoff instead. You're still alive and well. What's with this whole stand-in for a lost love drama? It's insane, no wonder. No wonder I felt a strange sense of familiarity when I first saw Caleb. I finally understood. Who knows, I said. Maybe the knockoff is better at flattery, more understanding. But I'll never learn how to grovel in this lifetime. All I know is how to give everything I have to the person I love. My head was splitting. Henry had to drive me home. The divorce papers are ready. When are you planning on bringing them to Victoria? Next week, probably. She'll definitely be back for dinner with the old gentleman. Every month, without fail, we would go to the Langdon family estate to have a simple dinner with her grandparents. Divorcing Victoria was no small matter. I had to use this time to secure my own position. During this period, Caleb wasn't idle either, frequently updating his social media feed. Breakfast with the female CEO, working late together into the night, standing together atop the city skyline. This business trip was an experience he could never have imagined in his entire life. Before, I was the only one who did these things with Victoria. Now, the employees and shareholders all looked at me with pity. Victoria was tacitly allowing Caleb to provoke me in this way. The last vestiges of affection I had for her were now completely exhausted. I needed to expedite the division of assets. One day, Henry burst into my office, furious and clutching a manila envelope. Sincere, that Victoria Langdon is a shameless wench. What's wrong? Henry slammed the envelope onto my desk. A memory card and several photos of Victoria and Caleb in a hotel's honeymoon suite slid out. Caleb was wrapped in a bathrobe, an incriminating red mark glaringly visible on his chest. She's not even back yet, but her scandalous photos or my straight posture wavered slightly. My heart felt as if it were being squeezed by a vice, the pain unbearable. With a trembling hand, I picked up the memory card and inserted it into a spare laptop. At dusk, on a rooftop terrace of a hotel, Victoria reached out to caress Caleb's face, looking at him with deep affection. Behind them, the sun was setting in a blaze of glory. The twilight was like a dream, the lovers embracing, like a scene from a moving painting. The moment before their lips were about to touch, I snapped the laptop shut. My voice carried a barely perceptible tremor. "Who sent this?" "It came by courier. The front desk received it." I was shaking with rage. I forced myself to carefully put the items away. "Find out who sent it. Keep this under wraps for now." Who else could it be? It has to be that shameless Caleb. He must be desperate to secure his position. This time, Victoria had truly crossed my line. Forget emotional cheating. Her body had been unfaithful. She was tainted. Just a little longer. Tomorrow, I would be free. At the morning meeting, Victoria dealt swiftly and severely with the employees who had previously mocked Caleb. 2 of them were my friends, and a few were even my own staff. But I never ever expected that Victoria would bring Caleb with her to the family dinner that evening. Caleb had even prepared many health gifts for my mother-in-law, Eleanor, who was so delighted her smile never left her face. When I arrived, Eleanor took my hand, chatting warmly with me about family matters, and sent someone to fetch Arthur and Victoria, who were talking in the study. Victoria and Caleb then walked into the dining room. Victoria glanced at me once, then looked away. Caleb naturally sat down in the seat that was usually mine. Although Victoria paused for a second, she didn't object. The triumphant smirk on Caleb's face only fueled my displeasure. We were still legally husband and wife. For her to bring her male secretary to a family dinner and let him brazenly take my seat was a direct challenge to my bottom line, a public humiliation. Since they had no regard for decency, I no longer needed to hold back. Eleanor held my arm, lovingly telling me to sit beside her, adding that she had prepared my favorite seafood feast today. My heart was a swirl of complicated emotions. Thinking about what I was about to say, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. My mother-in-law was my own mother's best friend. She had always been very good to me. But no matter what, I was done giving Victoria any more face. I took Eleanor's hand, patted the back of it gently, and told her, "Mom, I'm afraid I won't be able to eat dinner tonight. I have something very important to say." Chapter 2. Eleanor's smile froze on her face. "Can't it wait until after we've eaten?" I shook my head, looked at Victoria, took a deep breath, and finally uttered the words that had been stuck in my heart for days. "Dad, Mom, I want to divorce Victoria." The dining room fell silent. Even the aroma of seafood hanging in the air suddenly felt heavy. My father-in-law, Arthur, looked at me in disbelief, asking why I wanted a divorce. Eleanor also asked anxiously what had happened between us. Victoria slammed her hand on the table, glaring at me furiously. "Are you done with this tantrum? It was just a set of jewelry for young Caleb. You've been holding this against me all this time, and now you want a divorce? Have you taken a single look at yourself?" Arthur sternly told Victoria to shut up and let me continue. I took the stack of photos and the USB drive from my bag and placed them on the table. "Dad, Mom, see for yourselves." Victoria snatched the photos, her face instantly turning ashen. The photos scattered across the floor, revealing indecent images of her and Caleb in bed. Eleanor's hands trembled as she picked one up, her eyes quickly turning red. She asked Victoria what was going on. Arthur's brows furrowed deeply as he stared at Victoria, waiting for an explanation. Victoria looked at me with rage, accusing me of faking the photos to frame her. She said our relationship had always been strong, and she would never do anything to betray me. However, I had no more patience for her denials. I looked at her coldly. "Victoria, you don't need to explain anymore. These photos and the video are real evidence. I, Sincere Sharp, have always been an upfront person. Even in divorce, I would never resort to such dirty tricks to frame you." Arthur's face turned livid with anger. He slammed his hand on the table and roared, "Victoria, you will explain yourself clearly today, Dad. You know what kind of person I am," Victoria pleaded. "Sincere and I have had some disagreements, but I would never ever do anything to betray him," as if remembering something. Victoria spun around to face Caleb, who was cowering in a corner. She pointed at the pile of photos on the floor and stared menacingly at him. "What is the meaning of these photos?" Chapter 5. Nothing ever happened between us, so why do these pictures exist? Caleb's face was deathly pale. He stood up, his body trembling slightly. He looked at Victoria, his eyes filled with terror and panic.
I don't know, Miss Langdon. You have to believe me."
"I really don't know how these photos ended up in Mr. Sharp's hands." Victoria's eyes widened, and she was so furious she kicked over a dining chair. She advanced on Caleb, her voice low and dangerous. "What do you mean by that? Are you saying these photos recorded events that actually happened? Why do I have no memory of it?" Caleb stumbled backward until his back hit the cold wall. Tears welled in his eyes, his voice cracking. "Miss Langdon, please don't. You're scaring me. I only remember that day you were drunk. You were on the hotel balcony watching the sunset, and you mistook me for Mr. Sharp. You held me and kept calling his name. And then what?" "Spit it out," Victoria demanded sharply. "I tried to push you away, but you wouldn't let go. I really don't know how Mr. Sharp found out about this. Miss Langdon, you have to believe me. I was planning to keep this a secret forever," Caleb sobbed. Victoria's expression went blank for a moment. She shook her head repeatedly. "Impossible. I would know if I had done something like that. Perhaps I mistook you for Sincere, but I would never ever have relations with you." Victoria's words cut Caleb to the quick. His tears finally fell. Looking deeply insulted, he bit his lip, turned and ran from the room. Only then did Victoria slowly turn back to me, her eyes filled with sorrow. "Sincere, believe me. I didn't do anything to betray you." I stared back at her, numb. "Whether you did or not is irrelevant to me now. We're getting a divorce either way."
"No, I don't agree." Victoria rushed to my side, gripping my hand tightly. "Sincere, you know how much I love you."
The only reason I acted that way towards Caleb was because in his eyes, I saw a reflection of you as a boy. But even if he resembles you a little, I never did anything out of line. I would never touch him. You have to believe me. I didn't want to hear any more of her excuses. I raised my hand to cut her off. "But he is not me. Don't use me as a pretext for your infidelity, only to pin the blame on me in the end," I said coldly. "I don't doubt that you once loved me deeply. It's just that I'm not in my early 20s anymore. I admit I can't compete with younger, more handsome and more considerate boys. Admit it, Victoria. The you of today doesn't love me as much as you think. It's just the responsibilities and shackles you carry that compel you to continue loving me. Since the original feelings are gone, why force it? Let's let each other go and find our own peace." With every word I spoke, Victoria's face grew colder. She stared straight into my eyes, as if searching for a sign that I was lying, for any sliver of hope to salvage things. But my gaze was firm and clear, without a hint of wavering. She was practically begging. "Sincere, that's just your judgment. It doesn't represent how I feel. Please don't treat divorce like a game. Don't make this kind of joke. I can explain everything that's happened recently. I didn't want to take Caleb on the business trip in the first place. He begged me, crying that he would be tormented at the office. The entertainment he enjoyed was all provided by our business partners. I didn't participate. This whole thing, let's just say I was wrong. I apologize to you, Sincere. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you were hurt. My only intention was to use this trip to give you a little nudge, to make you realize that as a husband, you also need to give your wife some personal space. I never thought it would turn out like this, Victoria explained. I frowned slightly and pulled my hand away with a cold laugh. I apologize that my love has made you feel so suffocated. Don't worry, you'll be free soon. Then I took a set of divorce papers from my bag. I've tried to make the asset division as clear and fair as possible. Take a look, and if there are no issues, just sign it. If you have objections, I will, out of respect for your parents, discuss it with you again, I said calmly. Victoria couldn't accept this reality. She let out a defeated, bitter laugh. I will not agree to a divorce, and I will find evidence to prove that I never touched Caleb whatever. I'll sue for divorce, I said, lifting my gaze coolly. Victoria's eyes reddened with unshed tears, her expression one of utter disbelief. She couldn't understand how, when I had loved her so much, and when she had humbled herself to apologize, I was still so insistent on divorce. She was about to say more when Arthur slammed the table and stood up. He gave Victoria a look of profound disappointment and stormed back to his study. Eleanor was already sobbing uncontrollably. Victoria, how could you do such a thing? Our family will be disgraced in just 5 short years. The sensational high society union, the wedding of the century, had come to this. I watched this scene unfold, my heart filled with a storm of complex feelings. The truth was, before that gala, I had been thinking about having a child with Victoria. But the moment I saw the girl I had loved so deeply siding with another man, my heart and mind made a swift, decisive choice. Make a clean break. I didn't want any stain on my marriage or my love. I refused to settle. Chapter 6. After my father passed away, my mother, Margaret, stepped down from her responsibilities and has been enjoying a peaceful retirement in her own villa. I visit her often, sharing the details of my life. This time I told her I was planning to divorce Victoria. She was shocked at first, but ultimately respected my decision. However, my mother then snuck back to her room and secretly called Eleanor. In the past, whenever Victoria and I had minor disagreements, our parents would communicate privately to help preserve our relationship. But this time, things were different. Seeing me come home every day, my mother understood that the situation had become irreconcilable. She stopped her leisurely bird watching and tea tasting, and instead spent her days reminding me of how good Victoria had been to her. I was getting tired of hearing it. If Victoria is so good to you, you've called her so many times these past few days. Has she even answered once? It must be because you broke her heart. That's why she's hiding and won't see anyone, my mother said, trying to make excuses for Victoria. I had to laugh at my mother's evasive glance. She had been so anxious about us that she had developed a cold sore on her lip. Mom, stop wasting your energy. I am going through with this divorce no matter what, I said firmly. But don't worry, I'll handle everything properly. It won't affect the long-standing friendship between our families. You like Victoria so much. Are you truly not sad or regretful? I patted my mother's shoulder. Once we're divorced, I'll just treat it as if she has disappeared from my world. Time will help me forget. A tainted love and a polluted marriage. I can't accept it, and I certainly can't forgive it. My mother opened her mouth to say something, but ultimately fell silent. She walked away dejectedly, muttering to herself, I don't know if raising you to be so independent and outstanding was a good thing or a bad thing. Victoria wasn't answering my mother's calls because she was busy tracking down the source of those photos, having given her phone to a professional to handle. She herself had flown to the city where she'd been on her business trip. She was gone for 3 days. Henry was the one who told me. Henry went to the Langdon Corporation every day on my behalf, trying to get Victoria to sign the divorce papers. It was also after that family dinner that Caleb Conway was never seen at Langdon Corporation again. On the 5th day of Victoria's disappearance, I received a video from an unknown number. The background was a massive rooftop terrace, a setting that felt somewhat familiar. Before I could watch it closely, the number called me. It was Victoria's voice, filled with undisguised excitement. Sincere, I told you I never touched Caleb. I found the hotel we stayed at, but unfortunately the security camera on the terrace that day had been maliciously destroyed. It took a lot of effort, but I managed to buy the original video file. Those photos and videos were all faked with AI software by Caleb's cousin, the girl who bumped into you in front of the office. Do you remember her? I remembered the young girl who had almost knocked me over. Sincere, I didn't do anything to betray you. Can we please not get a divorce? Victoria's voice was laced with a desperate plea. My hand tightened around my phone, but my thoughts didn't linger on the young girl. I spoke calmly. Victoria, is cheating in bed the only thing that counts as betraying me? Even if this video proves your innocence, what's the point? When you gave Caleb the suit I had carefully picked out for you, did you ever think about how hurt I would be? When you abandoned me on the side of the road to go help Caleb, did you ever think about my humiliation? When you took him on a business trip and posted those pictures that looked like a honeymoon, did you ever think about the gossip I would face? You even brought him to the family estate and let him occupy the seat that was meant for me. You said it was to teach me a lesson, but to me, it felt like the ultimate humiliation. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I'm sorry, Sincere, Victoria said, her voice catching with a soft sob. I know that no matter how I explain it, I can't erase the pain I've caused you. I admit, the way I handled things was selfish and foolish. I ignored your feelings. But please believe me, I never intended to truly hurt you, and I never, ever wanted to end our marriage. Listening to her confession, my heart remained unmoved. What was done was done. The damage was irreversible. We could never go back to the way we were. Chapter 8. After Victoria returned, she continued to drag her feet on signing the divorce papers. Henry practically moved into the private lounge in her office, using her things and periodically updating me on her situation. The police came to see Victoria today. I didn't expect you to get dragged into this. Caleb's cousin was arrested, but Caleb himself has disappeared. It turned out that Caleb's cousin, Chloe, had gambling debts and had gone to Caleb for help. After learning of Victoria's status, they concocted a plan to drug her, force a situation to happen, and then compel me to step aside. But Victoria didn't fall for it and pushed him away. To cover their tracks, Caleb's cousin created the fake photos and video, hoping to make me angry enough to leave Victoria on my own. Victoria investigated and uncovered the truth. Now Chloe Conway was arrested on a slew of charges, but Caleb was still at large. Henry also told me that Victoria had treated Caleb with a certain partiality from the beginning, which had fostered his animosity toward me. Hearing all this, I felt a flicker of emotion. If only Victoria had remained as she used to be, walking through a field of flowers without a single petal clinging to her, we would never have faced this mess. But now, it was too late for what-ifs. Chapter 9. A new company project required me to go abroad for 2 months. Upon my return, the first piece of news I heard was that Victoria had been in a car accident. She had lost both her legs and would be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of her life. The person responsible for the crash was Caleb. He was sentenced to a long prison term for intentional assault. I was surprised. I thought he had been in love with Victoria. How did unrequited love turn into this? When I got home, I found my car was missing. After much questioning, my mother finally admitted that Victoria had asked her to keep it from me. I loved that car, and I had always let Victoria handle its maintenance. It turned out that Caleb, unaware that I had left the country, had been lying in wait near my house. When he saw Victoria driving my car, he crashed into it. He had rented a car and rammed it straight into hers. He had been trying to hit me. After everything fell apart for Caleb, everyone abandoned him, and he lost his job. Unable to cope, he blamed me for all of his misfortunes. After returning to the country, I went to the hospital to see Victoria. She was in a VIP room, inaccessible to the public. I knocked on the door. Victoria's voice from inside was low and hollow. "Go away." "Victoria, it's me, Sincere Sharp." Neither of us spoke again. Later, Victoria had someone bring me 2 documents, a signed divorce agreement and a share transfer agreement for her company. Her lawyer and I finalized the divorce, but I couldn't bring myself to take her company. My mother said she would break my legs if I dared. A year later, I saw Victoria again. She was already able to walk with prosthetic limbs. Our bond as childhood sweethearts perhaps still existed somewhere, but it was nothing like it was before. It was a relic, left behind in the past. The end.